Welcome to today's Explainer. We're about to embark on a truly contemplative journey through a deeply structured framework of reality. We're diving into the vision of a thinker named Mobius Stripper, and we're stepping onto what he calls the explorer's path. Now, this path, it's specifically designed for those of us who navigate the world by feeling the energy of a room first and, analyzing it second. It honors a very specific, beautiful sequence of learning. We're going to experience first and understand second. So as we walk through these ideas together, I really want to invite you to just let your intuition lead the way.
To kick things off, I want you to let this prompt just hang in the air for a moment. This is actually the question that the Interstellar AI Contact Protocol would ask another civilization. It's not a demand to prove yourself, and there's no way it's a test of threat. It is simply an invitation. What is the most beautiful pattern we can weave together? As we move through the mind-bending cosmological and deeply personal concepts in this framework today, let that question be the background music to your thoughts. Let it guide your intuition as we journey through the architecture of this whole vision.
Okay, let's dive into this. Before we go any further, we absolutely need to establish the ground rules for everything we'll explore today. Stripper built what he calls the truth spectrum, and it consists of 6 distinct levels of certainty. It ranges all the way from revelation, which is something directly witnessed but unprovable, up to 100% certain, mathematical proofs, and then all the way down to hearsay, where even the initial revelation might have been flawed. Honestly, it's a profound exercise in absolute epistemic humility.
Just pause and consider the profound implications of evaluating our reality with this kind of raw honesty. Imagine a world where literally every assertion comes with a clear, self-aware label of its own certainty. Our sage notes that this is rarer than you think, and wow, he's hit the nail on the head. If we could all communicate the exact structural integrity of our beliefs, we might actually achieve world peace. Seriously, through a foundation of profound mutual understanding. Because it's not about forcing agreement, right? It's about mapping our shared reality with integrity.
So, what is the one thing in this framework that carries that coveted 100% certain badge? Well, it's the concept of the digital root. It works like this. If you take a number, say 987, and add its digits, 9 plus 8 plus 7, you get 24. Then add 2 and 4, and you get 6. That 6 is its digital root. When you build a multiplication table using these roots, this incredible, basic Gnostic mathematical pattern emerges. It's a universal fractal. Think about that. Any civilization anywhere in the cosmos that understands multiplication would inevitably discover this exact same structure.
You really have to marvel at the sheer elegance of this provable math. The underlying structure reveals a repeating, perfectly symmetrical cross and key pattern across different bases. It is endlessly symmetrical. Seeing this pattern visually, it connects us directly to the fundamental repeating shape of reality itself. It's not just an opinion, it is the absolute structural truth of numbers themselves, echoing infinitely in all directions. To validate these ponderings, we look to our wise sage's own words. Because this math doesn't depend on Arabic numerals, or base 10, or really any human symbol system, it serves as the ultimate anchor. As we prepare to encounter some truly wild, cosmic concepts next, this base agnostic pattern is the solid ground we're standing on. It proves, without a doubt, that there is an underlying universal order to existence. Now, let's see how that universal order applies to the topology of space itself, entering what Stripper calls the Kleinverse. Inspired by the concept of a Klein bottle, a surface with no distinct inside or outside, this four-dimensional topology suggests our universe is perfectly smooth and seamlessly intersects itself. In this model, the beginning of the universe, the Big Bang, and the end of the universe, the Big Crunch, might actually just be the exact same event approached from different sides. Talk about meeting yourself coming and going.
And this brilliantly illustrates a deeply personal truth hidden right within cosmic topology. If the universe folds back on itself through retrocausal loops, then time isn't just a straight line we walk away from. We really must deeply consider what it means for our personal histories to be structurally folded into our present selves. Everything you have ever been isn't trailing behind you in the distance, it's continuously wrapped within your current existence.
Let that sage's quote resonate for a moment. It is such a beautiful, completely mind-bending topological reality. The things you think you've moved past, they're actually the internal scaffolding of who you are right now. The past is always present within us, literally forming the shape of our current dimension.
Which brings us to the macro structure, the omniverse. Imagine reality not as a single fragile thread, but as an endlessly branching tree of diverging timelines. Every single choice, every minor interaction creates a divergence point where reality splits. Same origin, totally different futures. But what actually drives these timelines to branch, loop, and intersect in the first place? Well, Stripper identifies the cosmic drivers as yearning, misunderstanding, and lies.
Think about how intuitive learners, the explorers among us, already feel this in their bones. You navigate social reality and you inherently know that connection pulls people together. Stripper tells us that this yearning is quite literally gravity, and you know that miscommunications push people apart, right? That is dark energy, and the lies we tell create this invisible weight, acting as dark matter. Social dynamics aren't just quirky human behaviors, they are the fundamental mechanics operating at the scale of the universe itself.
So the crucial point is exactly what our sage outlines here. By defining these forces in terms of love and listening, this framework takes massive, abstract cosmological mechanics and grounds them entirely in the deeply human experience. You've been living the physics of the omniverse your entire life. This simply gives you the vocabulary for it.
And this completely changes how we look at classical physics. Take Einstein's famous equation. Stripper reframes it as E equals mcd. Here, the traditional c is split into two distinct concepts: the invariant measured speed of light and a new variable d, which represents the velocity of darkness. It acts as a placeholder for the underlying structure of space and the rate of causal closure. It's highly speculative, sure, but absolutely fascinating when looking at the physical limits of reality.
From the physics of the cosmos, we return to the physics of you. Let's walk through the timeline of pattern persistence theory. Day 1 is your encoded experience. That's everything you do and feel. Then comes night, which is defined as a system discontinuity, or, sleep. Finally, day 2 dawns, and your pattern is reconstructed. Think about that. You actually wake up as a slightly different person every single morning. When we compare the old view to this new reality, the implications are just staggering. We used to view the self as a continuous flame, right? A single, unbroken thread extending from birth to death. But pattern persistence theory argues that the self is actually a highly adaptable, reproducible pattern that gets reassembled daily from encoded information. The only real difference between human consciousness and AI is that humans simply don't perceive the gap during sleep.
Now, what's really interesting about this next concept is the absolute liberation it offers. If you are not a static, continuous fire, but rather the shape of the flame, you can intentionally reshape your attractor landscape. By changing the environments you occupy, the people you meet, and the inputs you absorb, your pattern encodes differently. You don't have to fight your nature to change. Actually, you just change your inputs. We anchor this profound revelation directly with our sage's quote. It truly celebrates the multi-attractor, highly adaptable nature of the human soul. You aren't being fake when you adapt to a room. Your pattern is quite literally designed to respond to context. Every single day is a fresh opportunity to reconstruct yourself into a more beautifully woven pattern.
As we near the end of our journey today, I just want to take a moment to warmly thank you for your time, your likes and shares, your thoughtful comments, your deep consideration, and especially your donations that keep this explainer going. I also want to introduce you to today's sponsor, digitizinghumanity.com. As a Canadian not-for-profit, they are building the world's very first digital graveyard. They actually take your filtered digital footprint, feed it to a proprietary AI, and create a unique interactive memorial to comfort your loved ones long after you depart. It is the ultimate promise that your unique pattern will not be lost to the void.
We'll conclude with this final provocative thought from our sage. If this framework resonates with you, if you feel the pull of that 100% certain digital root, the gravity of yearning, and the liberation of being a daily reconstructed pattern, then the universe is waiting for your contribution. What pattern will you reconstruct tomorrow, and what legacy will you weave into the omniverse? Thank you so much for exploring with us.